Israel said today it had recovered the body of a hostage kidnapped and killed during Hamas's October 7th attacks, along with the remains of another hostage it didn't identify. The announcement was yet another reminder of how the country, even today, lives in the shadow of October 7th. Nick Schifrin and producer Carl Bostic in Israel set out to measure the country's mood 693 days since the war began.
In Tel Aviv, at the end of this hot summer of discontent, the heat boils with an angry message. Save them now. Israelis call this Hostage Square a barometer of the country's hope and despair. And on stage, Liran Berman issues a challenge.
Bring them home. End the war.
The hostages are the most important thing, and we need to prioritize their return.
Berman is the big brother to twins Gali and Ziv, both kidnapped from kibbutz Kfar Aza during the October 7th terrorist attacks.
All of us have the same hobbies. All of us love football or soccer. All of us love music. We have very tight bond.
But today, nearly 700 days after they were taken, Berman fears his brother's lives hang by a thread.
We know that they were separated in the first day, and we know that they are surviving, and I'm terrified as a brother of two live hostages that this current deal will fall again.
The current deal, Hamas says it's willing to release half of the 20 hostages believed to be still alive and the remaining ones after 10 weeks in exchange for an Israeli withdrawal. But now Israel is demanding all the hostages released at once and Hamas's total defeat.
I trust my government. I'm just worried that it's taking too long. I hope the Israeli government is listening to me, and I will never stop being optimistic. For the sake of my brothers, I can't be pessimistic. I can't allow myself to be pessimistic, so there is always hope. Even in the darkest hours, there is always hope.
But there is a darkness here. It plays out in soldiers' funerals, a continuous national mourning, and a trauma that is still collective.
We are still not waking up from this nightmare, and so many people are getting hurt. Our families are broken. Our hostages are fading.
We, the families of the kidnapped.
Efrat Makikawa is an international activist who promotes peace. But since October the 7th, she says her ideals are burdened by pain and loss.
What I felt on October 7th is that I got into some kind of a moral hell. All the values, all the morals we all grew up on, and what I taught and lectured about all my life were suddenly taken away from me.
On October the 7th in kibbutz Nir Oz, Hamas kidnapped 6 members of her family, including her aunt, Margalit. 5 have now returned home, including her dear uncle Gadi, who spent 482 days in captivity. But Gadi's partner, Makikawa's aunt, was killed accidentally on October the 7th by an Israeli helicopter targeting Hamas.
Pain has no border, and losing in a war has no border as well. We're all losing, and we're all hurt by now. Our cities, our nation was attacked by vicious evilness of Hamas terrorists, and it wasn't a war we chose to get into. But now, almost 2 years into this war, I have doubts.
Doubts about how Israel is waging the war in Gaza and its plan to displace 1 million people from Gaza City.
Who are we to tell them where to go? Why would someone think of such an idea? It's their home.
And doubts about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his right-wing coalition.
Our Prime Minister is lost. He lost his way. We, Israelis, are not our extreme government. And we're not people of revenge and awful behavior that I am ashamed of.
These days, Israel is a country that ricochets Between anger over failure to bring home all the hostages, 80% of Israelis want the war to end. And there's anxiety watching every major event in Gaza and every military decision. Israel's calling up 60,000 reserves to take over Gaza City with the stated goal of eradicating Hamas and bringing all the hostages home. For the soldiers themselves, who stop by this rest stop near the Gaza border, they preserve their purpose. These soldiers asked to speak to us anonymously.
We don't want war, okay? All we want is peace, and we're not looking for fighting.
Dror Trabelsi is the canteen's co-owner with his two brothers. He takes pride in his food and service and his home region's ability to fight the country's enemies.
I'm from the south. I'm the one who actually suffered for the last 30 years from Hamas. No one in Tel Aviv did. It's not an endless war. It's a war that needs to be ended.
Israeli society is no stranger to debate, but this one has been raw and widespread. No one here is untouched by a war whose weight falls heavy on families, families of hostages and families of soldiers. They call themselves Mothers on the Front Line, tens of thousands of Israeli women whose sons and daughters are fighting in Gaza.
You feel that you send your son to the army when you don't trust your leadership.
Agamit Gelb is one of the group's leaders. She has two sons. One was just called up for duty last week. Her brother has been called up for a sixth time.
The whole family is going under a real change when you send a soldier to the army. It's not a normal life. You're always waiting for them to get home. You always worry.
This is Israel's longest war. Gelb and others yearn for it to end, yearn to feel more safe.
I don't want to be afraid to live here. I don't want to be alerted all day, all night. I don't want to send my sons to a never-ending story war. This is not a way we want to live here.
But for now, that is life here, because despite the demands, despite the urgency, the war goes on. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Nick Schiffer.